Hello! So it is time for this very special heroic race. So today we will be going through how you can finish as many laps as possible in this heroic race and just generally taking a look at it because this one is very different to usual. You see, normally we have heroic races like once a month, but we only just had one for high scale, but now we have another one, this time for a really big dragon in the form of High Occult Titan. Now, High Occult Titan has high food production per minute, and he is a heroic dragon with a shield. So he is a pretty good dragon overall, even if Shadow as a primary element isn't the most ideal ever. But this does work the same as normal races in terms of the fact that we have a leaderboard and you need to come first on this leaderboard if you want to get your hands on the heroic. However, there are some big differences between this one and usual because the thing is, you can only qualify for this dragon if you get to lap 15, whereas normally it's lap, what was it, 5, something like that? But now the laps are much easier to get through, and you'll see that already we've got 9 days, 16 hours left, and we're on lap 7, and I've barely been logging in, to be honest with you. But we have a leaderboard full of players here, mine being incredibly inactive so far, which is very lucky. But some players already have opponents on like lap 15, lap 20, because they just gem the whole thing. But we do have rewards on each lap, and you'll see that these are the rewards that I got so far: gems, some orbs for High Occult Titan, some food. But the only way to actually guarantee High Occult Titan without coming first is to actually get to lap 50. Now, how doable is lap 50? Well, I think lap 50 is a bit wild, personally. I think most players that are going to get High Occult Titan are probably going to end up getting him by coming first in their race. So it is really important that you come first in your race. It's not like usual where you can get to lap 15 and you're guaranteed the dragon. Lap 15 only qualifies you this time. But we do have some insane rewards on the other levels, like 100 orbs for High Occult Titan there, heroic Joker orbs, banquet box, 75 for him, 50. Chances are most players probably aren't going to finish this, so maybe up to this point they might get some of these orbs, damage perks. There are a lot of good rewards this time around. Not quite as interesting as some of the other ones that we normally get during heroic race, but there is a lot of good stuff going on. And if you come second to third, you get 75 gems. If you come fourth to eighth, you at least get 25 gems for basically doing nothing. So if you don't want to take part, at least get a few rewards, I suppose. But of course, the main reward is High Occult Titan. So currently I am on lap 7, node 3, and we will go through each test quickly. I have done tons of heroic race guides. The actual missions themselves work exactly the same as normal, but the actual nodes have very slightly different requirements to normal because, again, it is much easier this time around to finish nodes in laps, and we have more nodes than usual in this. So that's another thing to take note of. But lap 7, node 3, it's been just an hour now since the last time I fed my dragons, because you'll see that currently we're sitting at 7 out of 12, and that's because that was the maximum amount of items that we could collect at that time. And then we had a wait timer on lap 7, node 3, because we are going to be using the very useful ditlep and deetlist website pages, and I have linked these in the Event Guys channel on my Discord server. I normally prefer the deetlist guide, but if you prefer using the ditlep guide, then feel free. But if we go on to deetlist, and then let's say we're on the home page, if you click heroic race, then all that you'll have to do is just scroll down, pick the lap that you're currently on, and then it will show you what the wait timers are, the minimum amount of time it will take to clear that node, etc, etc. So since we're currently on lap 7, node 3, we are at the feeding dragon section, and now we have total number of items that need to be collected is 12. There is a pool of 7, hence why I was stuck on 7 out of 12, because that is the maximum amount of items that we could collect all at once. And I have explained pools before in the previous heroic race guide. You can check that one out if you need any more details on exactly what a pool is, but it just means that there are only 7 items to collect at once. Then wait time means wait time per item. So since we can only collect up to 7 items, then we need to collect 5 more to get the 12 total that we need. So that's 10 minutes times 5 is minimum amount of time taken on lap 7 node 3. 50 minutes is how long it takes to finish lap 7 node 3 minimum. Of course, if you just don't log in, don't collect the items, it could take you 7 days. But if you're logging in and you want to know how to finish this node as quickly as possible, it is 50 minutes. And that is if you collect the first 7 items. And now, with feeding dragons, it is pretty basic. It is the easiest task, in my opinion, in this game. And it's simple. You can find a level 1 dragon or any low level dragon. I'm just going to feed this level 20 because I've got food. And all that you do is you feed them up, you see the little beetles pop up, and there you go. That is that quest done. So since we don't have any more items to collect, now we move on to lap 7 node 4. And lap 7 node 4, before we even start doing it, first thing I'm going to do is come back to the deetlist.com website and we're going to check lap 7 node 4. There are 3 items and there is a pool of 3, which means that we don't have to wait at all and we can just finish off this node instantly. The thing is, we have to actually do the task. And now hatching is one of the more complicated ones depending on whether you have time skips or not. If you don't have time skips like I do, then you will just have to throw in Terra Dragon eggs, place them, pop them in, and there is only about a 10% chance each time you do that of getting an item. So you go gold, put in that, wait 15 seconds, hatch the Terra Dragon over and over again. Now, if you are someone like myself that has permanent 12-hour time skips, you can just have any egg that is below 12 hours long and skip it. And anything, I think it's above 9 hours-ish. Anything above 9 hours is a guaranteed item. The shorter the timer, however, the less the chances that you are going to get an event item, which is why the chance of you getting the item is so low from hatching Terra Dragon eggs. It's not impossible, but you just have to do lots and lots of Terra Dragon egg hatching. But alternatively, if you're someone like me, you can just pop in War or Archangel Dragon eggs and hatch those instead, because they will never be over 12 hours and you can just skip them. And since I've got Motherly here, I am just going to watch an ad and skip hers right now. So there we go, that is that ad watched. Now we can place Motherly Dragon into a habitat. I don't really have many habitat spaces anymore, so I guess we'll just throw it into this one for now. There we go, we got our first item here. And that was just because that was a long timer on her. And again, we can hatch the Terra Dragon egg, but we're not guaranteed to get it from the Terra Dragon egg. It's just the way that it be. But like I said, if you do have time skips, then you can pop in Archangel or War Dragon eggs. You're not guaranteed to get an item every single time, but the chances of you getting an item are pretty high. So it won't take you very many ads. So easily some of the best to pop in, I should say. So this should be our third item if we get lucky. There we go. There is our third item there, so then we can just sell the Archangel Dragon. Now we are on to lap 7 node 5, and it is win a single league battle, which is pretty good. I didn't mean to click that. But with the league battles tasks, of course, whether you can do league battles or not is mainly going to come down to your player level in regards to, well, I guess in comparison to the level of your dragons themselves. And so when you get to a point in the game like I'm at, where I have level 70s, level 69s, level 60s, pretty much you'll always win every single league battle ever. But if you are a newer player and you have over-leveled, then the chances are you're going to run into opponents in league battles that will destroy you. League battle opponents actually cap at level 45 stars, so as long as you can beat any level 45 starred dragon in the game, you will never ever have a trouble with league battles, but you have to get to that point first. There is nothing else more to it apart from if you can't do it properly, you need to get better dragons. It is just that simple. But that is that one done. And now we come across the longest task that we're going to come across in this event, which is lap 7 node 6, which is battling. And so you should be able to do the first battle instantly like I have. You go ahead and you do the first fight. And then with these battles, you'll have to keep logging in consistently and do the next one, then the next one, then the next one, because you'll see that this one has a 1 hour cooldown. So then that one's going to have a 1 hour cooldown, that one's going to have a 1 hour cooldown, and then normally the final battle has the longest cooldown. A really important tip about doing these battles is that usually if you are going to gem during the event just to, you know, save some time, you're better off logging in an hour to do the Otoroshi fight, then logging in an hour after to do Goblin, an hour after to do Thor, and then skipping the final battle. The reason why it is best to skip only the final battle is because it ends up being really cheap, and sometimes you can skip tons of time on this battle. So this is basically where we are going to be just left sitting for a while now, because again, on lap 7 node 6, we just have to log in once an hour to do these battles. Of course, we could gem it, but 38 gems just for one node, not worth it. We just need to be patient and do these battles as they are and maybe skip that final battle. And if you do want to check exactly how long the battles quests take, you can see this on deetlist or ditlep as well. So if we go to lap 7 node 6, you'll see that battle dragons, there's 5 of them, and it says that the minimum amount of time taken is 4 hours. So maybe all of them do just have an hour-long cooldown this time, but usually it is best to only spend gems to skip the final battle just because of the cost, even if it's not a super long timer. But this becomes more important with the longer battle timers. Now, with regards to the battles and league battles, there is something that you can do as a player if you do get stuck on any of them, or you want to potentially skip any of these battles, and you can use this special spin thingy. And I did use this earlier with the 6 hour time frame on the battles, because I was already behind, because, you know, I've been at work all day. I come home and then I'm a little bit behind, and I used it earlier. I got a +5, which instantly finished that battle node skip. But if you are ever stuck with your league battles, save your booster spin to use on league battles. If you're ever going to be stuck on a really long timer for battles, save your booster spin for that. I know that lap 12 has a pretty long one, so maybe save your booster spin for tomorrow for lap 12's one. But always keep in mind this booster spin, use it wisely. You may only get +1 item, or you could skip the entire node, and that would be insanely good on a node like this one. To be able to skip basically 4 hours of waiting, that's pretty good. You want to save time wherever you can in this race. So we won't be able to go any further than this ourselves here, but there are some other tests that I do want to go through. So if we go on to lap 8, which is where we'll be after we finish these battles, you'll see that we've got collect gold. And lap 8 node 1, there is no wait timer, no the pool equals the number of items that we need. So when it comes to collecting gold, literally all that you'll need to do is any habitat that has a gold symbol over the top, you just click it and then you'll see the gold symbols popping up. And now you are more likely to get an item the fuller that the habitat is. So I highly suggest waiting until you see the gold symbol, or just until the habitat is completely full before you collect. Now, Medarian, the tower dragon, can be really useful for this because he does boost gold production. But if you are a brand new player that is trying to get the gold collecting, best thing you can do is pop down tons of really low level terra habitats, put in terra dragon eggs, so just go get eggs, hatch terra dragons, level them up a bit, put them in the habitat, and then just use those as gold farming. For me, I don't need to do that because you can see I've got like a bajillion habitats is what it feels like, so I don't need to worry about that myself. But if you are a new player that doesn't have tons of habitats, it's really important that you put down a lot of terra habitats for events like this. Luckily, you don't have to collect way too many this time around. Like, it's only 9 for now, so you should be able to do it, whereas you might run into some that are like 25 collect gold that you've got to do, and that's tougher for newer players, but you should be able to do it quite easily. It's one of the easiest tasks by far. Then we've got another league battle that's going to be coming up, one single battle, so make sure you save your energy for that, your league energy. Then we have collecting food, and this one does actually have just a 24-minute wait timer. Why 24 minutes? Why so short? I don't know, but it is going to be something that is going to determine who wins and who loses in this heroic race, because there are a lot of minimum really short wait timers. So how frequently you can actually log in to do those, that's going to determine who the actual winners are in this race in a lot of cases. So for collecting food, there is a pool of 4 total. You'll need to collect 6 food, which isn't a lot, but again, you'll collect food the first time 4 times, and then you'll have to log in to get the final 2 items that you need after 24 minutes. But if you do want to get this quest done, make sure that all of your farms are set to the lowest costing, lowest timer food, because you'll see that I've been doing food collecting on mobile all day, and now if I click regrow, it's going to put the longest timers, most expensive. You do not want to be putting in the longest timer food in the middle of a heroic race. That is an easy way to get stuck on a quest for absolutely no reason. When you collect from these really cheap bluebell bouquets, it is only like a 10% chance each time you collect from them, but it means that you will never be left waiting when you have a quest to do, like a food collecting quest. You'll never have to wait very long. The longest amount of time you'll have to wait is going to be the 30 seconds that it takes to actually plant the food. That is it. So make sure that you go over to your farms, and at least in half of them, because maybe you still want to be generating some food, but make sure that in at least half of them you have put in the shortest time of food that there is, because otherwise you are going to hate yourself when you get to, you know, in this case you might get to lap 8 node 3 and it's like, oh, all of my farms are completely full, and then you have to wait a day. That would be absolutely awful and would be a massive issue in terms of, you know, your overall progress in the event. So please watch out for the collecting food quest. Don't pop in super long food during this heroic race. You really don't need to. So then, lap 8 node 4, more hatching quests, which is exactly the same as what we just did earlier. So just hatch those dragon eggs. Then we have breed dragons. Now, this one is arguably one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult, along with the battles quest, and that is because the quest and how easy it is will be different depending on whether you have time skips or not. Now, if you're someone like me that has time skips, whenever you have a breeding quest, one of the best combinations that you can use, if you can keep logging in over, you know, if you're just free that evening, the best combination that you can use is probably going to be Naughty and Secret Fire. The reason being that the longest timer is going to be for Archangel. Aside from that, it's 2 really short timers, which means that you can always skip. You will never ever have a full breeding den or hatchery, because the only dragons that this can produce are relatively short timers. But Archangel is long enough that usually it will give you the item. So if you have 12-hour time skips, this is the combination for you right here. Now, if you don't have 12-hour time skips, then when you come to the breeding quest, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. And what I mean by old-fashioned way is using the typical boys, unempowered, non-empowered Terra Dragons. Do not use empowered Terra Dragons. Make sure you use non-empowered Terra Dragons. Reason being that the only possible outcome is a Terra Dragon, which is super short. There's no chance of you breeding Terraformer, no chance of you breeding Longhorn. So again, you won't get stuck on a particular breeding task because, you know, all your breeding dens are full. Make sure you have at least 1 breeding den open at all times during the heroic race, just to guarantee that you don't get stuck. Now, if you get to a node where there are lots of breedings to be done, you may want to even keep 2 of them open. But you never ever want to never have a breeding den open at any time. Always have 1 of them free. That's the best advice I can really give to you. Like, maybe in one of your breeding dens you want to do random breeding, which is fine, but make sure that you never ever get stuck on this breeding dragons quest. And now with the breeding of the Terra Dragons, even if it's only a pool of 2 items, it could take you 10-20 minutes to do this quest. Reason being that you can see here, the chance of getting an item just from any breeding pair is a minimum of 10%, which it will be 10% when you're breeding Terras together. So when you're breeding the Terra Dragons together, it's not a very high chance of you getting an item each time. Remember, if you do in fact do breeding, the higher the timer is, the more likely you are to get an item. But in order to not fill out your breeding dens, you need to use Terra X Terra. So those are the two best combinations that you can use for breeding, depending on whether you are a time skip person or you don't have time skips. If you do have time skips, there is another combination that you can use, and that is War X War. And I actually prefer this combination to Secret, Fire, and Naughty. The main reason being that you just don't have to do as many skips to get the items. The only problem is, if you breed Thor, then you will end up filling up your hatchery for a set amount of time. Because I think he's got like a 16-hour, something like that, hatching time, which means you can't skip it using time skips. But if you are really short on time, like say you're just about to go to work, you're just about to go to school or something, and you need the items like straight away and you can't afford to faff around, if you have time skips, War X War, I actually prefer using it. And same if you're about to go to sleep and you have breeding tasks to do, you can just pop these two in instead and then just get any combination out of it just to get the quest done quickly. But keep that in mind. It's not as good for not filling out your breeding den, but it is useful if you are short on time. So keep all of that in mind. And then after that, we would have another battle section, but the Lap 8 Node 6 battles are actually shorter. You'll see that there are 4 of them, 4 battles, but a minimum time of 3 hours, which is shorter than the ones that we're currently on. Lap 9, for example, is going to be very similar. There is another wait time on feeding dragons for Node 1, for whatever reason, just an hour. Then more hatching of eggs, more league battles, more collecting food. There's a 15-minute timer on Lap 9 Node 5. Don't know why there is. And then Lap 9 Node 6, 5-hour wait time. So the reason why it's so important to have these websites or any sort of guide section open that shows you the wait time is because, like, you'd never know playing this event what the cooldown is on Lap 9 Node 4, and you'd never know that on Lap 9 Node 5 that there's just an arbitrary 15-minute wait timer for no reason. Because if you go into the game, there is nowhere in the heroic race that will show you what the cooldown timer is for any of the other tasks that aren't battle tasks. I don't know why. Most other games accept at this point that it's really good to have in-game cooldown timers, but Dragon City doesn't do it. So there is no way to know what the wait timer is on that node, and if you want to be as quick as you possibly can, you have to know that. So I always suggest if you are playing this heroic race to have one of these websites open at least, or anyone that's made a guide for each of the laps, definitely always have them open. Now, these are the early laps. I just very quickly want to take a look at one of the later laps that you might get to, just to show you why it's so important that you're really diligent with your logging in and also using these websites. Let's take a look at lap 30, for instance. Lap 30 Node 1, we have breed dragons as the first task. There are 5 items that you'll need, but only a pool of 3, which means that you'll collect the first 3 items and then you'll have to wait at least 2 hours and 14 minutes to be able to get the final 2. So that's already a hell of a lot higher than what it has been so far on the early laps. Lap 30 Node 2, we have collecting food, which there's 13 items to collect, a pool of 7, which means you have to wait at least an hour and 12 minutes to finish it. Then we have Node 3 hatching instant, which is great, but you still have to get 5 items, so you'll need to have your hatchery open. Feeding dragons, 47 of them, but it's instant. You can just finish that one instantly. That's a nice easy one. Then we have league battles, which has number 3, but a pool of 2 with a 60-second wait time. I'm not sure how accurate this one is, but I don't know why there is an arbitrary 60-second wait timer. If this is actually real, just in case, I would suggest just waiting a minute before you do your 3rd league battle, just to make sure that you don't waste your battle to get no item. I don't know why this is a thing, but again, really important to have these websites open because they have this sort of thing. They may have a couple of things that are wrong because this type of race is brand new. This is not a normal race, so there could be some misinformation. But if it's only a 60-second wait, personally, I'd just wait the 60 seconds in case, just to be safe, because you don't want to be wasting league battle items, because if you want to gem your league battle timers, like for me, it costs 9 gems. The earlier on, the less it will cost you, but you don't want to be wasting 9 gems for no reason if you don't have to, you know? So then after that, lap 30 node 6, which of course is the battle dragon section, there are 6 battles, but a minimum time of 13 hours. So this would be one where you'd be like, okay, maybe we should use our special bonus skip on this to try and skip these. But again, I would suggest logging in for the first 5 battles and then skipping using gems the final battle, because then that will be the quickest way to finish it and the cheapest way. Now, if we take a look at one even further than that, let's say 45, lap 45. How's lap 45 looking? An hour and 40 minutes minimum, an hour and 10 minutes minimum for node 2, an hour minimum for node 3, 3 hours 21 minutes for node 4, no minimum for node 5, and then 6 hours 40 minutes on the battling. Again, these tasks seem really inconsistent. Like, there are some laps that even if they're a higher lap, they just seem to have really random timers on all of these. But this one, rather than having all of the timer on the battling section, most of the timers are actually in the other nodes, so you have to be logging in a hell of a lot more frequently for those in that case and really being on top of the cooldowns. So then, if we go to lap 49, which is the lap before you get High Occult Titan, just to take a look at it, we've got no wait timer on node 1, node 2 60 seconds, no wait timer on node 3, no wait timer on node 4, 4 hours and 28 minutes on node 5, and then 6 hours 40 minutes on node 6, which you'll notice that the total time of lap 49 is actually much shorter than some of the earlier laps. Don't know why, this race is just kind of all over the place in terms of cooldowns. So, the big takeaway for me is that you need to have these websites or guides open at all times so you know exactly when you can log in and exactly how long each node is going to take. That is by far one of the main things that will determine whether you are going to succeed in this race, whether you're going to beat the opposition or not. Because again, even if you're like me and the rest of your leaderboard looks like they're not logging in, the thing is, these players could be asleep right now, these players may just be busy today, and they could absolutely go crazy tomorrow. Where you are on day 1, day 3, day 5, doesn't matter. What matters is where you are by the end of the race. That is the only thing that matters. So you should really be trying to do as well as you possibly can in every single lap until you get as high as you can. And that way, that is the best way that you can try and guarantee that you get High Occult Titan. But it's going to be a long slog. 10 days of basically just keeping deetlist open and logging in a lot. If you can't log in consistently because you go to work or you go to school a lot, I do feel for you. You're probably going to lose out to players that either work from home, do school from home, or they just don't have a lot to do. But that's heroic races in general. So yeah, good luck. I hope that you get an active leaderboard and make sure you are using the websites. I hope that even if you don't get High Occult Titan outright, you at least get tons of orbs for him. Just remember that you need at least 500 orbs for High Occult Titan to summon him, or 401 orbs plus 99 heroic jokers during summoning happy hour. So try and get as many of these orbs out of the lap rewards as you can, and then you can use them to trade if you don't even want the dragon. So keep that in mind. But I hope that that way I threw everything that you need in this event. And yeah, aside from that, all that we've really got going on is breeding chest and determination karma holo. So yeah, good luck.